Larson, and I want to share a very valuable lesson with you today. My operations manager, Amanda, will actually be going through step by step so you understand every single nitty gritty detail of how to do this operation. Here at Real Estate Mad Education, we don't believe in fluff. We believe in details. We want to give you actionable information that you can follow along with and go implement right away. I hope you enjoy this training. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is a video about sending a sales agreement to a buyer for a double close. So a double close is another way to wholesale a property. A double closing is known as a back-to-back closing where you actually purchase the home and then resell it to a new buyer, usually in the same day. So this exit strategy is typically used in scenarios where an assignment of contract isn't possible, or if you want more privacy. So if there's like a large assignment fee, you're making a lot of money, you don't want the end buyer to see that, a double close would be the best route to take. So to be clear though, a double closing can take either a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks depending on the structure of the transaction, but we usually do double closes within the same day. You would just need to check with your title company to make sure that that's possible. So off-market deals being sold to a cash buyer are the best and easiest to facilitate. These make it really easy for same-day double closes. So if your buyer is using finance, it could take you a little while because you might have to first purchase the property, have the title updated, and then resell the property, usually about a week or two later. But also keep in mind that some listed properties on the MLS may not allow assignments or may have stipulations for when they can be resold. If you wish to purchase and hold the property, then this option might be okay to wait the given amount of time and then resell it later in those cases. So there are two separate contracts for a double close. The contract between the original seller and you, which is A to B, and the contract between you and the end buyer, which is B to C. In cases of double closing, the seller only sees the contract between you and themselves, and the end buyer only sees the contract between you and themselves as well. This keeps all parties separated, and it keeps the profit you make more private. So again, if you're making a large fee, then this could be the option for you. However, keep in mind that this transaction will cost more because you'll have closing costs associated with this type of closing. As an assignment of contract, you don't have these costs. So that's another thing to consider. A double close also requires you to close on the first transaction before you can close the second. This could present a problem if you don't have the funds to close the first transaction yourself. So in these cases, just make sure your title company can do dry double closes, which means they take the funds from the second closing and use those to close the first. Not all title companies will do this, but you can always double check with them first. Okay, and then on earnest money, for these types of contracts, we only put up $1 earnest money for our original contract. So when we're the buyer, we only want to put up the least amount of earnest money possible. But when we sell the property on that second contract, we have our end buyer put anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 depending on the deal. And this is always held in escrow, so we don't actually see the money until closing. And that just keeps everybody safe in case the end buyer defaults and leaves us with a contract that we're still responsible to perform with. Okay, so title company and attorney, just like that assignment of contract that we went over, with a double close, you'll actually be purchasing the property, so you want to make sure that you can close at your title company. So the purchase and the sale agreement both need to have the same title company as well. We like to use our own title company when we close on a property, so we usually will have the end buyer also use our title company. And then profit, so just like the assignment of contract, you get paid when the property closes, and the title company will get with you on wiring or mailing those funds to you. And then defaulting. So again, in our contract we have the language, so if the end buyer fails to close, you can keep the earnest money you collected up front, again in escrow with the title company. And then from that point, you'll just try to extend the closing date with the original seller so you can try to sell this property again to a new buyer. Contract prohibitions, so with certain bank-owned properties or other types of MLS deals, you could have some problems reselling the property immediately, and you may have to wait a specific amount of time. So off-market deals are always the easiest to do double closes or assignments of contract, but it's not impossible. You just might have to hold the property a little bit longer in order to resell it at a later date. And then below we've provided an example of our sales contract. Keep in mind we're not attorneys and can't provide legal advice, so contact your local attorney and go over this contract with them to make sure that it is a legal contract in your area. This is our real estate purchase agreement. It does look a lot alike our actual purchase agreement. So when we're purchasing the property, we have a little bit of different language in here than we do when we sell the property. So this is going to be our sales agreement. So just keep in mind we want to be as protected as possible. So that's the reason for a little bit different language in both of these contracts, even though they look very similar. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at our templates. There is a few differences to keep in mind, so make sure you're using the correct contracts when you do either a purchase or a sell. So here's the language that we have in our contracts. Again, go over this with a local attorney. And then down here at number 6, I just want to go ahead and reiterate that the inspection period is very important. So make sure that you do add your inspection period there, as is closing date. And then this is where you would put your title company. And we have a separate video going into further detail about how to actually fill out the contracts. So if you want to head over there, we'll go a little more into detail on how to fill this out. But this is just a very quick example of what our sales agreement looks like and why you might want to do a double closing to sell your property to that end buyer instead of an assignment of contract.